everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a whip parade, yay! I know I'm a little bit late to the whip parade party, but I was trying to decide what whips I am going to keep working on. So in this video I'm going to show you the whips that I have decided to keep as whips, and then I'm also going to show some projects that I don't think I'm going to keep working on. Fairly sure that I'm not going to keep working on them, so I'm just going to be putting them away for a little while I think about what I want to do with them. So we're just going to start off with what I am keeping. So I'm going to be going from order of when my oldest whips to my newest whips, and so we'll just get started. So my oldest whip is Tarot Town 2 by Ciro Marchetti. It is charted by Hayde, and I will be inserting here pictures of what everything will look like when it's finished. And I started this September of 2012. This was my very first Heaven and Earth design chart and my very first large full coverage chart. And here is where it is. So it's going to be really hard to show because it is so large. So the top row is completely done. This is the second row here, almost done. And then I started stitching this last year in Stitch Mania, and I just started stitching along the outside of the chart. So it goes all along the bottom. I have the whole outline to the chart done, so I can basically fill in everything else. And I'm stitching this on 22 count hardanger, 2/1 full cross. It's really thick. I would not stitch another full coverage chart on 22 count because I think that it's too thick personally. And the way that I'm stitching this now is I'm actually trying to get all of the black stitched, so the next time I work on this I will be stitching on black, and then from there I might stitch page by page or just keep going extreme cross country by color, but I'm not sure. So that's my oldest whip. My next whip is Mini Home is Where the Magic Is by Randall Spangler. It is also charted by Hayde, and I started this one on January 1st of 2018, so it was a new year, new start for me. And here is where this one is. I am actually trying to get this one finished this year, and I'm stitching it on 28 count even weave, 2/1 tent stitch. And I think if I do 300 stitches on it a day, I will be able to have it finished. I think it's like in November, so I think that might be what I try to do to get this one finished this year. And then this will be it'll technically be my third Hayde finish, but I really consider it like the second because one of the Haydes I stitched was a bulletin board stitch along, and it was only 4 pages, so it was like barely a Hayde. Like, it's a Hayde because they made it, but it's like the tiniest little Hayde that they've ever made. So that was my second whip. My third whip is Templar Prophecy by Long Dog Samplers. I started this on September 4th of 2019, and I am stitching it on 22 count hardanger that I dyed myself, 1/1 using DMC 666. And here is where this one is. I love this one so much. I want to stitch on it more seeing it now. I think that my plan is I would like to have this one finished by July 2021, so July of next year, because I finished Castles in the Air this year in July, and last year I finished Death by Cross Stitch in July, so I feel like I need to do another Long Dog Sampler finish in July of next year, and this one I think will be what I try and do, which means I need to get stitching on it because this is only 1 page of the chart finished. So there's that. So my next whip is Game of Thrones. It was a limited edition chart from Tilton Crafts. I know that sometimes if you message her about limited edition charts, she might still have some available, but she doesn't keep them up on the website. And I started it on October 2nd of 2019, and I am stitching it on 28 count even weave, 1/1 full cross. And here is where I am on that. So right there you can see there is Littlefinger's face, which I was super excited to get his face done and to see how it would turn out. I think it turned out pretty well so far. I am stitching this one diagonally This is the first piece that I've ever stitched doing the on the diagonals, which you can, in Pattern Keeper, you can actually have Pattern Keeper put in the diagonals for you, so that's what I did. And I think now I am doing 20 stitch wide diagonals, but I started out originally doing 10 stitch wide diagonals. And then the way I do it is I stitch cross country in the diagonal. I don't just do like, some people will only stitch like one full row and then move up to the next row and up to the next row, and then they'll just park their threads. But I like doing cross country because I think that parking takes a lot longer to stitch, so that's what I do. And then my next chart is Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a chart from Etsy. I will leave the store down below because I do not remember what the store is right now, and I don't have it written on my list because I have a list here of all my WIPs. I started this October 11th of 2019, and I am stitching it on 22 count Hardanger that I dyed myself, 2/1 full cross. And here's where that is. I only worked on this for a few days in October when I started it, and then I think I will be pulling it out again in October of this year because this is like the only Halloween chart that I have, so I think that I will just keep it and stitch on it around Halloween time. So there's that one. And then my 6th chart is Sailor Moon by Daniel Kordek, and it's charted by Tilton Crafts. I started this on November 11th of 2019, and I am stitching it on 28 count even weave, 2/1 tent stitch. And I started in the middle of this chart, and because I wanted to start on one of the girls and not the background. So here's where that is. And I think that on this chart I will actually be cropping out some of the top and some of the bottom of the chart because there is a lot of blue background where there's like not any people in it that I could easily cut off, so I might just cut off like kind of like a little bit above the top of their head and the bottom of their feet and not stitch as much of the background. And then number 7 is Dear Alice by Artisy, and I started this November 14th of 2019, and I am stitching this one on 18 count Aida, 2/1 full cross, and I am stitching this extreme cross country doing black first. So here's where I am on this. I started in the bottom left corner because most of the black was down here, and then as you go up there will be less black and it turns more green, so I figured this would be the easiest corner to start. So there's that. And then number 8 is Keita by Pinky the Pink on Etsy, and she also has a different website now that I think she uses to sell her charts, so I will leave that linked below. And I started this November of 2019, and I am stitching it on 28 count even weave that I dyed myself, and it's 2/2 full cross. So here is where she is. There is a full page finish. I think here is a full page finish, and that's where she's at right now. I think my goal for this year, because I had set yearly like goals for everything this year, but I like failed miserably, was to have the top half of her finished, but I don't think that's going to happen this year because I just have not worked on this very much. So that is where she is. And then number 9 is Rainbow Basin, and that is artwork by Emperor Pep, charted by Tilton Crafts. And I am stitching, I started it February 6th of 2020, and I am stitching it on 36 count even weave, 1/1 tent stitch. So it's really tiny. So here's where I am on that. And I love the 36 count because the stitches are just so tiny. I don't know if you're going to be able to really see, but they're just so tiny. And then we are skitting to the end. The next one of my WIPs is number 10, and that's Lunar Princess Stitch Along by, I think it's Sleeping Luna Designs on Etsy, and I will leave the link to that down below. And I am so far behind on this because I was not working on it, and so I need to get caught up on this. So here's where I am on this. I started it, I don't have it written down when I started, so I need to look that up later. So I don't know when I started this, but it was this year because it just came out recently. And this is fabric that I dyed myself. I use purple plus some blue, so you can see there's like navy spots. And I am stitching this 2 over 2 full cross, and I need to get caught up. So I think this stitch along is supposed to end in October is when the last thing comes out, I think. So I have a couple months to get caught up, and I need to do that. So then my 11th WIP is Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. I started it July 5th of 2020, and I have almost 1 page done. And this fabric is just a mess. This is, what is this, 16 count Aida. I use 18 count a lot for things, but I went with 16 because 2 strands on 18 count can be kind of thick, and so I wanted to use 2 strands, so I figured I would use 16 count instead, so I would have a little bit more space for the stitches without them getting too thick. So here is my Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers, and I'm just using a basic white Aida because I figured that the colors that I picked for floss didn't need like a colorful fabric. So there's that one. And then number 12 is Heaven on Earth 2, and that's by Charting Creations. I started it on, I think I put like the first stitches in on my birthday, which was July 17th of 2020, but I didn't really start working on it until like the next week, and here's where this one is. I'm like 3,000 stitches in, and I love it. I am stitching this on 28 count even weave, 2 over 1 tent stitch, because tent stitch is my favorite. And you can see I got a drop of something there, and so I'm going to need to fix that grid. That is annoying. So there's that. And then my last WIP is Zelda and Link from Unique Door Sign on Etsy. I started it in July of 2020. I'm not sure the exact day. And, well, this fabric is about to come apart. Here's where that is. I am stitching this on 40 count Mallow 1 over 2 full cross, and I have Zelda, the outline of her finished, but I still need to color her in, and then I need to get Link stitched. So there's that one, and that is the last of my WIPs. So you will probably have noticed that there were a lot of things that you have seen on my channel that were not included, and I'm going to go over what those pieces are and just kind of why I am putting them on hold. So the WIPs that aren't included is, I think there are 5 HAEDs that aren't included, and I realized that I have a lot of Heaven and Earth charts started, and I kind of want to have more time to stitch on charts from other designers. So I picked the 2 HAEDs that I liked the most, which is Tarot Town 2 and Mini Home is Where the Magic Is, and I figured I would keep those 2 out for now, and I would put the other ones away so that I would have more time for charts by other designers. So I will quickly show the charts that I am putting away for now, and like I said, I'm not really sure if I will be fully just like not going back to them and maybe using the fabric for something else, or if I will stitch them at a later day. I'm not sure yet. So those charts is, the first one I'll show is Supersize Max Color Eternal Promise by Matt Stewart. Where is that one? Here. I love this chart, but like I said, I feel like I don't have enough time for as many full coverages from one company, and I want to be able to buy full coverages from other companies and have the time to stitch them without feeling like I am neglecting my WIPs. So this is Supersize Max Color Eternal Promise. I only got like 2 pages finished on it, and I started this, when did I start this? I started this March of 2018, so since then I haven't really worked on it that much. I do love it, but I feel like I have not made as much progress on it as some of my other charts, and so I just feel like something needs to go. So there was that one, and then there is Far Pavilions by Amy Stewart, and I started this of June of 2018, and I also did not get very far on that. This is all I had finished in the years since I have started it. And then Fantastic Voyage, also by Amy Stewart. And I started this one in December of 2018. And then two more. There's Once Upon a Fairy Tale by Amy Stewart. Everyone knows this, everyone loves this. I will say that part of the reasons why I did not keep this one as one of my whips is after looking at mock-ups, there was some, like, there were areas where I could have made them work, but there were a lot of areas that were blurrier than I would have liked, and the colors weren't really right to where I would have ended up having to change, I think, a lot of colors myself. And this was the regular size, regular color version. I do still love this chart, but like I said, I just don't feel like the detail would have been there for this one for me. So I feel like for the amount of time it would take to stitch this, because this is still a really large chart even though it's the regular size, I just feel like I would rather stitch something else from someone else. So there was that. And then the last one is Mini Masquerade Pale Dawn by Adele Sessler. And I had just started this one on March 1st of 2020. And this is fabric that I dyed myself, and I did this on a colorful fabric because the outside border isn't going to be fully stitched. It would have had fabric showing through, so I wanted it on a colorful fabric. And like I said, I'm not sure for all these if I will just never be stitching these charts again, or if I will maybe start them when I have more space for HAEDs open in my rotation, because like I said, I feel like having two HAEDs is kind of a good number so that I can have time for other charts from like Charting Creations and Threadbare and Tilt and Crafts and Artisy and any Etsy charts, because like I feel like there's so much more to stitch out there than just HAEDs, so I would like the time and the supplies to do that, because I have so much fabric just here. Like Supersize Max Color Eternal Promise could do so many other charts if I decided to chop it up and reuse that fabric. So that is all for my WIP parade! Yay! You know everything that I am working on now, except for there are possible new starts, because I do have some fabric for some other charts. And yeah, so thank you everyone for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.